On intellectual savage family. Today's video, we're going to talk about an interesting topic, something wild that happened. We got to talk about it. We're going to go through it. Y'all know every now and then I like to go in and talk about some fraud or some scammers. I think I did one on an investor attorney. I think I did another one on a brother who, it was actually genius, a brother who created a coin called Scam Coin cryptocurrency and was able to run it up to all of these millions of dollars. So I saw a video, I saw a topic that just made me say, damn, you know what? I have to check out this video. I have to see what's going on because we got to talk about it. It's the story of a mayor who stole $2.2 million from the local school district and ultimately ended up committing suicide, which is crazy. I know. Before we dive in, I got to give my disclaimers for the Bar Association. Hey, yo, I'm a licensed attorney, not your attorney, not legal advice, not financial advice. Just giving my opinion and take on financial topics and letting y'all know what we got cracking over here in the household of the Debt-Free Dad. So let's go ahead. Let's dive in. Let's talk about it. All right. So again, if you don't know my background or you aren't familiar with my background, I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law since 2010. Your boy is old, not ancient, but I'm definitely up there. I'm at that age where I might go out and get a Ferrari or something, that middle age where you just kind of do something crazy, right? So I've been practicing law for well over a decade. First half of my career, or the first third of my career, I did criminal defense, everything from the street crimes to theft to prostitution to armed robbery to the more serious stuff. But as I was doing that, what I realized is nobody really wanted to deal with the financial crimes. This is kind of how I got into the financial white collar stuff. When I was in law school, I was a dork. So because I was a dork, I took a bunch of tax classes. So I took basic tax, partnership tax, corporate tax. I just was a tax geek. So I took all of these tax classes. When I started doing defense work, anytime a white collar case came across, whether it was some type of embezzlement or something to that effect, nobody really wanted to do it. So they were like, hey, give it to the nerdy tax guy over there. He'll do it. So that's kind of how I carved out a niche of doing white collar type of criminal defense, because really nobody wanted to do it. They gave it to the tax dork, and me as the tax dork, I took it and ran with it, because there's a lot more when you're doing an investigation for white collar crimes. Is a lot more paper intensive. There's a lot more data. You're going to be looking at files. You're going to be looking at billing statements. You're going to be looking at invoices. So it's not really the most sexy work. A lot of the times you're going to find yourself working with an investigator, going through boxes, or now going through a bunch of computer files, just trying to follow the money, see the origins of the money, see where it went to, see if it was laundered. So it's not really sexy. That's how I got into this whole white collar area. Fast forward past that first third after doing the defense work, I flipped over on the other side. I started doing criminal investigations, prosecutions. So I got a little bit of experience in this area. Now, the first thing is, people always ask me. I was watching a shout out to Pocket Watching with JT. I was watching one of his videos one day and I actually called in. And the first question he asked me is this question that I always get. Why do people commit fraud? Why do people commit crimes? And so I know what a lot of people probably thinking is because they stupid. That's why the reason people commit crimes, because people are stupid and they want to just be criminals. But I will tell you that is not the case. I'll tell you, especially when it comes to white collar crime, what I found in my experience, a lot of times these people are actually sharp as hell. I mean, again, sometimes the white collar crimes that's committed, PPP fraud, isn't something that's complex. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do, but there are some types of embezzlement. There are some type of money laundering. There are some type of financial crime schemes that are very sophisticated. I know one guy I represented, the dude went to Harvard. This dude had like an MBA from Harvard, and I was his defense attorney. And this dude defrauded something like $3 or $4 million from like retired teachers. So, hey, terrible crime, but this dude was smart. Now, the problem with criminals like this who's smart, they think they know every damn thing. So, of course, that representation did not go well at all. That representation did not go well at all. Oh, nah, I look like the man. Get out. Nah, I don't think I look like that dude, man. That dude, I don't know, man. That dude a little burly. He a little burly looking. That's funny. But that's it. I think your point is fair. A part of it is greed, and the other part of it is just kind of arrogance. Like, why would I remember once I used to prosecute healthcare providers, doctors. Why the hell would a doctor who make $400,000 a year need to defraud an extra $200,000 a year? Because they're greedy as hell. But again, the answer is they're not. It's not that they're stupid. They actually got data out there. There's been studies shown. That's one of the things when you in my line of work, they make you do all of these dumbass courses where you learn body language, you learn people physical and verbal cues when you're doing interviews, interrogations, when you're doing all of these stuff. So you take all of these courses to learn all this stuff. Most criminals, especially ones who commit white collar crime. Now, if it's a criminal who commit like a stupid crime, I can't vouch for the intellectual capacity of them, but I can speak for most white collar criminals. There's statistic and data points out there that show most times they have above average intelligence. So that's point number one. Point number two, a lot of these criminals, they have the weirdest, craziest moral codes that I have ever seen, right? Like, for example, I can remember representing street guys who was like, oh man, I won't rob a female civilian, but I rob a guy civilian. And to him, that was his way of rationalizing it and rationalizing and justifying what he was doing. When I represented this guy who had the Ponzi thing, the first thing I thought, I was like, God damn, dog, you defrauded teachers, retired teachers. I don't know about y'all, but most teachers don't make a lot of dough. We know this. Teachers don't make a lot of money. You defrauded retired teachers. And his rationale in his mind was that, well, I knew if I defrauded them out their money, one thing teachers do have is a pension. So they always gonna get a paycheck until the day they die because they have this continued pension. And I just looked at him like, isn't that about the dumbest ass rationalizations excuse I ever heard for a crime in my life? But a lot of them find ways to rationalize whatever the behavior is. A lot of it is greed. A lot of it is wanting it now. You'll be amazed at how much crime is actually committed, especially white collar crime, to impress their friends. Because most Ponzi schemes, a lot of times they didn't, what I've seen from representing guys who in that kind of white collar space, they don't start with the intent to actually defraud people. Initially, most Ponzi schemes are people actually collecting money from investors to invest it for them. And then at some point in time, it starts out legitimate, but at some point in time, maybe that stock start collapsing. Maybe they start double dipping in those investment funds that they received and commingling it with their own funds. But most times it actually starts from a place of, I'm trying to actually start a real investment fund. I'm trying to actually start a real hedge fund. Then the next thing I know, my spending got out of control. So I was like, excuse me. So I'm like, damn, I got to get my money up because it's getting kind of crazy. But a lot of times, white collar crimes start from a place of a mistake or something like that. Yeah, I heard that on more than one occasion. Like, oh man, nah, she looked like she was a hard woman, working woman coming from work. So I walked past her, but the guy beside her, even though I could tell he was just getting off work with his painted overalls, yeah, I stuck him up. Like it's crazy what criminals will do to justify their conduct. So in hearing this story, it was really weird how it happened, right? Because right now we're just finding out about a federal investigation into funds, right? So let's talk about from a morality standpoint. It's two things that kind of give me cause to pause when we talk about this story. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the facts. And actually, let me go to the video first, then I elaborate a little bit more on the facts and details. Let's go and let's see if we can pull it up. Let's see if we can pull this video up. See, look at that. I'm messing up. I was supposed to have everything all set to go, and your boy was lackluster. Watch a commercial gonna pop up too. See, it's always some commercial popping up, just ruining everything. All right, we're gonna wait till this commercial get through. Not gonna turn the sound up because we're not giving nobody no free advertisement. We're gonna go and scroll up so we don't gotta see that adorable baby in the commercial unless they want to give up some bread. All right.
Ward died by suicide. He was beloved by his community, and his sudden death left many people wondering. For obtained court documents that show a federal investigation determined Ward was responsible for defrauding the KIPP school, the KIPP DC school, of more than $2 million intended for student technology devices. Ward was an employee of KIPP. Prince George's County Bureau Chief Tracy Wilkins broke the story on Twitter and has our report.
It's a flood of emotion, not only because I'm the mayor of the city, but I also live within 200 yards of here.
Kevin Scooter Ward was Hyattsville's mayor, known for his dedication to public service, mental health support for police and residents, and his kindness. In January, police say Ward died by suicide. According to federal court documents filed in the U.S. District Court in D.C., the Department of Justice's forfeiture and money laundering section was investigating Ward for defrauding his employer, KIPP DC Public Schools, of more than $2 million during the height of the pandemic. KIPP DC provided a statement to News 4 that says they found irregularities with technology purchases during a routine internal review in December of 2021. Federal prosecutors were alerted, and KIPP DC says, quote, "This federal investigation determined that former KIPP DC Senior Director of Technology, Kevin Scooter Ward, was responsible for defrauding KIPP DC of $2.2 million intended for student technology devices and services." According to the civil complaint, Ward is accused of somehow creating and fraudulently incorporating a tech company in Maryland and a contact person for that company, none of which existed. The federal civil complaint says that from 2020 to 2021, Ward used cash obtained by fraudulent invoices to purchase 2 pieces of property in Augusta, West Virginia, and a fleet of luxury cars, including a 2020 Ford Super Duty F450, a 2015 Ducati, a 2012 Subaru sedan, 2 Jeep Wranglers, a Cricket camper, a 2017 Alfa Romeo Giulia, 2 Teslas, and a Jeep Gladiator. Court documents say he also purchased an expensive collection of rare sports memorabilia of athletes ranging from Jerry Rice to Michael Jordan. KIPP says the money spent was from a single non-federal grant. It's already recovered $1 million from its insurance coverage and is hoping the U.S. Department of Justice's asset recovery process will return more than $800,000 of the money lost. I tried reaching out to Mr. Ward's family for comment. I called his husband, but have not heard back as of yet. According to the federal court docket, there is no attorney listed representing Mr. Ward's interest at this point. I'm Tracy Wilkins, News 4.
And the city of Hyattsville just released a statement in reaction to our story that reads in part, "City leadership would like to assure community members that there is a robust, multi-layered approval process in place for the expenditure of city funds, and no elected official has access to the city's cash account."
All right, so we just saw that video. So we just checked out that video. What's going on? Thanks for joining in. So yeah, it was a crazy. And so let's kind of break this down, because this brother. Well, let's back up. You know, your boy Nosy, I got to figure out the nuances from it. So one of the first things I did, I was like, damn, and this is just honest. This is how I would normally go through my process if I had any case that landed on my desk. I was like, damn, you steal something like that, you got to have a reason for stealing it. So I was like, I wonder how much does this guy make in his role as, you know, working with district employees at the schools and all of this stuff. Those are just kind of regular questions. So I actually took a look. Let me see if I can find it. All right, so right here we got it on the screen. So a mayor in Hyattsville, small town, not a real big city in Maryland. You can see the salary here right in the middle of the screen, $16,000 to $17,000. Mayor is a part-time job. Like, it's not like you're the mayor of like New York City. You know what I mean? The mayor of New York City, that brother gonna probably make a lot of money because they working the hell out of them. There's always some drama going off. The mayor always in some turmoil. But part-time job, mayor of a small city, $17,000. Now, I don't know, and I couldn't look and find it through open source research. I probably could have if I looked. I just ain't really had the time to. But let's just go ahead and talk about this in context. he was an employee of KIPP schools. Now this hit home to me because hey, DC, hey, that's hometown, that's where I'm from. At one point, my kids had actually submitted applications to get into KIPP. So I was like, damn, dog, you stealing money from the children to buy tablets and technology during the pandemic when all of that shit was needed. Like, I don't know, whatever, some criminals out there got a moral compass or code, but this dude didn't. I was like, damn, like it would have been one thing to cheat the technology department during normal times. But from 2020 to current, that's the one time technology was important because everybody was working from home. Everybody needed tablets. So I was like, damn, dog, you defrauded the kids. So that's point number one. Point number two is let's just think about this. A senior technology director with the District of Columbia government. All right. Even though I couldn't ascertain what his salary was, I guarantee you his salary was probably six figures. It was probably, well, I'm not saying it was probably somewhere between the 120 to 140,000 a year range. Let's just think about it. How did I come to this conclusion? He's the senior director for technology. Okay, that's point number one. Then I thought about it like, wait a minute, I used to work in district government. This guy in his position, he has the ability to enter into contracts on behalf of the school district with very little oversight and or supervision for millions of dollars. Anyone who has a role in government with millions of dollars of expenses or budget or funds you can contract for is under your thumb, they're not just going to have no regular schmegular ass guy who just started having that much control over any type of fiscal operation. It doesn't work. I know when I was in district government at one point, an organization I ran had a budget that was like $3 million. That's nothing compared to this dude's budget for technology just for the KIPP schools was $2.2 million. So anytime there's millions of dollars in grant and funding and government taxpayer money, it's not going to be no regular smegular employee. It's going to be somebody in the senior upper echelon of leadership, somebody who got some time in the game. So I guarantee you this guy probably made six figures, probably above six figures. I'm thinking the $125,000 to $130,000 range. Oh yeah. Yep. Hey, as always, I don't know what about them Harvard people. They think they smarter than everybody. I don't know what it is about them Harvard folks. I don't know what it is about them Harvard. What's going on? Thanks for joining in. All right, and so let's just kind of get back on it. So this dude made about $17,000 a year from being a mayor of a small city in Maryland. $16,000 to $17,000 a year in that role, which is a part-time role. Then we're gonna look his salary. Let's just be modest. I'm sure it's over $100,000, but let's say he had a $100,000 salary in his senior position where he could control millions of dollars and enter into millions of dollars worth of contracts. So that's point number one. He wasn't in a position where he was just struggling from lack of income. Because I'm telling you, based on this, the fact that he was able to enter in these contracts on behalf of the school, I know he was clearly in a senior leadership position. Senior leadership positions in district schools, you probably looking at six figures easy, no doubt about that. Now, the interesting thing is, again, well, the terrible thing is, one is from the schools district. Now, what made this story kind of wild for me is because we didn't find out about the fraud until recently. In January, it was just mayor commits suicide in like a park or a park bench, and everybody was like, even all the articles you saw, all the articles was like, well, why would someone do that? And what was going on, no one really knew. Now all the pieces kind of came together. All of the pieces came together when we thought about it, because now we know there was a federal investigation. Now, so again, why would a person commit suicide? We had no clue in January. Now we know because the Alphabet Boys was on his ass. This was something that was going to definitely carry some jail time. And I think when you see stories like this, sometimes, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes like shame is a powerful tool, right? Like sometimes being ashamed of if you do something stupid, what it could do to your family or your loved ones, make you not do something stupid. Like, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I think about doing stupid stuff all the time. And I'd be like, oh man, let me think about it. I better not do that stupid shit because that'll be really embarrassing to my mama if I do something like that. If I do that and get caught, my mama, I grew up in church, man. The whole congregation gonna be talking about me. I had too much. I'd be too ashamed to do that and get caught. So shame has a lot of impact. It prevents people from doing stuff, but also if you get caught, the shame also prevent people from wanting to face the consequences of their actions. So let's think about the attention to detail it took to commit this fraud, right? Because you can't just take $2.2 million out of the school kitty fund and get away with it. This guy went through the hassle. This clearly shows that he has some intelligence. He went through the hassle to create a fake LLC that appeared to engage in the business of handing out laptops and selling laptops and other electronic items like that. He created fake registered agents. He created I'm talking about whole documentation that he had to file with the district's regulatory office. It's not the Secretary of State, it's called DCRA. But essentially, the regulatory agency to create and establish a company. Trust me, I established a company last year. I know how much it costs to file an LLC. You got to put some time and effort into doing all of that damn paperwork. You got to put some time and effort into all of that stuff. Yeah, shame. I can't embarrass my mama out here in these streets of my family. Come on now. And so it takes a lot of time and effort for a person to go through that and create this false company. Now I'm interested to see or to find out who all is on all of the articles of a corporation and all of the documentation. A lot of times, and it is not all the time, but a lot of times you wouldn't be surprised to find an attorney's name on this type of documentation. And that doesn't mean that the attorney necessarily participated in the fraud, but it does give you an interesting look to determine if there were co-conspirators in this type of thing. So that's point number one. But I'm gonna just tell y'all this is just me, my personal beliefs. Like, man, I read this article and I saw this story and I was like, man, this dude's selfish as hell. Like, how selfish do you got to be to steal from the kids $2.2 million so they can get all the technological devices they need during the pandemic? That's point number one. But point number two, like, damn, then on the way out, how selfish do you got to be just like to, like off yourself? Most people, hey, I get it. I understand everybody deal with things, mental health issues, all of that type of stuff. But I'm gonna just tell you, this doesn't strike me as a mental health issue thing. This strikes me as a fear. I don't want to go to jail. I don't know if I can handle it. I need to do something. So again, you stole from the school. Now you put your family, your loved ones. I think they said he had a spouse, a husband, whatever. You put them in a compromised position of will or can they even collect on any insurance policy that you have out there? Now, I'll tell you just from a legal standpoint, if you commit a crime and get large sums of money, even if you tap out, even if you check yourself out, as we can clearly see from this story, that doesn't stop them from coming after your assets. If you engage in a wrongdoing and there's money to be had, they are going to come and get their money back, whether that's by they have some means through criminal processes to get that money back, but they also have civil remedies where your estate can still be sued. And they saw at the end of the video, they said no attorney is representing the estate right now because I don't know. I don't practice that type of law, but I would like to think that would be a trash job for me to sit there and fight to come up with a way or figure out a way I can negotiate to keep some of the ill-gotten gains that I stole from a bunch of kids. Like, hell no, man. My mother would be ashamed of me if I did that too. She would be ashamed of me if I took that case as well. So that's point number two. No matter what happens, if you tap out, there's going to be a way to go back and get that money. And so when I looked deeper into the article, and I think they said it in the video, it was interesting because they said that $1 million has already been recouped by the school district through their insurance policy. And with the efforts of, the U.S. Attorney's Office, they're looking at getting about $800,000 back. Let's think about that. Okay, you're gonna get $800,000 back out of 2.2 million. The other 1 million that the school got was essentially from an insurance policy. So at the end of the day, the difference between the $800,000 versus the 2.2 million that was stolen is going to fall on the taxpayer. Yeah, even though they got $1 million from the insurance, is insurance. What happens? You got insurance and you actually have to collect. Your policy goes up. If the school has an insurance policy and that policy goes up, who's going to have to pay for it? My ass, because I live in DC and I'm a taxpayer. So because of this fraud that occurred, it essentially is a fraud on all of the taxpayers and the students, because we're going to have to flip the bill for that lost money. Now, it was interesting because I see a couple of things that are just egregiously wrong in this whole process, right? And I can't understand from a process standpoint, and I'm a big process guy. I need to know how, if a contract is entered, I need to know stage A, where it begins, where we have a brainstorm saying we need this equipment, and I need to know how that process ends to the point where though the equipment we need are in the desk at the homes of students and they're using them. Everything in between that is a process. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if I was in a leadership position at KIPP schools, somebody else would be grasped, because in this process from deciding what the hell we need for the students and actually getting what we need to the students, how does this process not have any safeguards or edit in place to let one person, one individual, not a group of individuals? I can see if it was 2 or 3. I can see if it was this guy as the contractor, then another lady as the contracting official. If it was 3 or 4 people to figure out a scheme to rob $2.2 million from a school district, I would be like, that makes sense. I can see it. They were working. This person controlled this part of the process. This person controlled this part. But the simple fact that one person was able to enter into contracts and defraud $2.2 million over a 2-year period, and it go unnoticed for damn near 18 to 24 months, is a systematic failure in the process. That means somewhere along the line, the process is broken. There's no oversight. In any process, in any business, you have to have some method of oversight so people can't steal from you. You have to be able to conduct audits so people can't steal from you. Even if you did a damn audit once a year, if they would have did an audit once a year, worst case scenario, in 12 months, they would have found out that this dude stole $2.2 million. But clearly the system was broken. Even though this dude was responsible for it, it is someone who should have their ass in a hot seat for not being able to identify this in the process much, much sooner. I just don't see one way one person can steal $2.2 million via a contract. I've worked for the government. I work for the government, for the local, federal. I work for government on every levels. You know how hard it is to enter into a contract on behalf of an institution or agency? You know how many damn signatures are required? I mean, so I think it's just really problematic that one person could enter and do all of this fraud, and it's just crazy. But the other thing is accountability. And I always hark on accountability because people don't want to be accountable. This dude ain't want to be accountable, but he wanted to buy one. Why he buy houses in West Virginia? He probably bought places in West Virginia because nobody would ever go there. Like, I thought that was an odd place to buy, but he bought all of this stuff. But once he got caught, he didn't want to be held accountable. I hate to say this. I tie this back to one of the downfalls that I said of, the student loan forgiveness. At some point, people have to be accountable for the decisions that they made. You know what I mean? And so I'm interested to see how this was done. And I'm also interested to see how did he find out about this federal investigation, because I'll tell you from experience, it's interesting how I've seen federal investigations get discovered jacked up ways a few times. Right? I don't know if y'all ever watched The Wire, but it was a scene on The Wire. I think it was season 2 when they were down at the docks, and a mob guy, he really wasn't a mob guy, but he worked down at the docks. They were smuggling drugs and women and all of these stuff in the canisters down at the pier. They put a tap on this guy's phone, and the dude didn't pay his phone in 3 months. And he called this phone company and was like, hey, why isn't my cell phone cut off? And They were like, oh, we got to notice not to cut your cell phone off. Sometimes people actually find out about investigations like that. A lot of times it's, oh, if you stole assets, it may be a freeze inappropriately put on your account. Someone go to use something, get some money out, they can't, and it rings the alarm like, wait a minute, why can't I get money out? A lot of times what I've seen, and this is with like doctors who defraud federal programs like Medicaid. You go to the doctor or you go to the dentist and you get a root canal, you don't look at your bill because it's paid for through your health care, through Medicaid, whatever you have. He bills Medicaid for a gang of stuff that he didn't even do. And so what happens a lot of times when we would identify that fraud, the government agency will be like, okay, we're going to cut his payments off. This dude doesn't need to get paid anymore. But a lot of times what you have to say if you're looking at an investigation is, no, you got to keep paying them, because if you stop paying them, then we're going to identify, or he's going to be able to figure out that we're actually conducting an investigation. We'll let you know when to cut off the benefits. We'll let you know when to cut off his cell phone. So I'm actually interested in how the hell did he find out that he was under this federal investigation? And so right now, this selfish dude stole from students when they needed technology during the biggest part of the pandemic. In addition to that, he committed suicide. And so I looked, and it's interesting because in a lot of insurance policies, again, not an area I practice per se, but a lot of insurance policies, they have what's called Slayer statutes. So if Mrs. Debt-Free Dad decide to kill Mr. Debt-Free Dad, she can't collect over this insurance policy because she killed my ass. So a lot of times that same concept applies to suicides, but that's not always the case. Each insurance policy has a distinct, unique suicide provision. Most of them have policies and provisions where they won't pay out, but a small percentage of them have policies where they won't pay out if a suicide is committed in the first 3 to 4 years. After that period, they will pay out. Or some of them also have provisions in them where if a suicide is committed, but a person has a history of mental health, seeing a psychiatrist, a psychologist, going to counseling, in that situation, because there's kind of a historical background that this person was dealing with some mental health issues, insurance companies will pay out. So it's going to be interesting. I think most companies that I've seen, that I've researched, they have policies straight up where like, hey, if you off yourself, bruh, we're not giving nobody anything. I think that's what the majority of companies do, but there are some out there who will pay over time. So when we look at all of these fraudsters, we look at the PPP guys, the mayors, we look at everybody who's defrauding any type of government program. At the end of we look at the Wall Street guys, we look at the bankers, everybody who commits fraud, they all got a few things in common when it's white collar fraud. One, they think they know they think they know more than everybody else. That's point number one. And that includes the federal prosecutors, federal investigators, state investigators, all of them. They think they're the smartest person in the room. And they think they have the most resources. They think they can I've seen people move money from one bank account to another bank account to another bank account. You're not that smart to move unless you got a plug at the Cayman Islands. Regular Joe Blow, you're not that smart to move money to where an investigative agency can't find it. It's people who all day, 8 hours a day, my job is to sit at my desk and look at my screen and look at data and identify people who are stealing funds illegally, who are embezzling funds, who are misappropriating for government programs. So it's people whose entire career spend 40 hours a week solely to catch criminals. So, shout out to the complex guys who actually make us have to think and do a little bit of research and digging. But a lot of times it's really simple. So you see it all the time with the PPP guys. I don't know if y'all seen the article of the guy who committed PPP fraud. He was a police officer. He said he had his own business, and this fool used the address of the police precinct where he worked in his PPP application for the address for his business. Like it get really ridiculous from time to time, but that's just kind of what people are. People are entitled. A lot of people have this I need it now. They want to impress their friends, and people think they can get away with it. That's the bottom line. That's the reason why most of these financial crimes get committed, because people think they can get away with it. And it's really terrible when they defraud anything that's kind of government related. Not that I don't want to see Bank of America to get defrauded, but Bank of America is worth billions of dollars. They can recoup those losses. But when you start talking about people getting duped out of their retirement because they invested in a Ponzi scheme, when you start talking about people defrauding a specific government program, now you're infecting people's financial situation for the entire life. Like those poor victims of that Ponzi scheme where I represented that guy, some of them invested $700,000, $1 million, their entire life savings, whatever they had in retirement. And then at the end of the day, they got back like 30 cents on the dollar. Like, there's no way they're going to recoup. So you had old people who were in their 60s, 70s, late 70s, almost 80s, who had to figure out how to make money, had to go back to work serving as greeters. So that's always terrible because white collar crime impacts you far more than like I would rather have someone break into my car or my house and take all of my shit as opposed to have someone dupe me in a Ponzi scheme or commit some type of securities fraud that I'm a victim of, because I'm done for generations. At least if you break in my house, I got insurance. I can kind of get over that. But if you commit white collar fraud, it's a wrap. I mean, you've effectively damaged a person's family for generations to come, So I think that's one of the things that's really terrible. You know what I mean? See somebody tuning in. What's going on, brother? I appreciate you tuning in, man. Yeah, it is a wild ass story, man. And I don't know. Like I said, I just feel terrible because, I mean, one, it impacts students. I feel terrible if anybody gets stolen from. But when you're stealing from schools and school districts with taxpayer dollars, it just kind of makes everything go bad. At the end of the day, we're the ones, the taxpayers, especially me, because I'm in D.C., damn it. He could have carried that shit across the bridge. Nah, that's a joke. But, hey, I'm going to have to pay for it, because that's just kind of the nature of the business. But I just wanted to just kind of touch bases on this case. It was one of the wilder cases that I've seen. I'm interested to see what information may come from this. But at the end of the day, y'all know now why I don't have a financial planner. I said it quite often. I say it all the time. It's because I've seen the worst of the worst. Oh, man, I know, man. I know you doing that remodel, man. Every time I see them short videos, I be like, damn. That look hard. Good luck, man. Hurry up and put some footage up when you're done with it. But keep your head on the swivel. Unfortunately, a lot of people out here to just dupe you and take advantage of you. And I don't care if it's crypto. I don't care if it's real estate. I don't care if it's disguised as, hey, we're giving out mortgages with no down payment to minorities. Be cautious and weary of what you enter into, what you're doing, because it is a lot of scumbags out here. Hey, this story was about one of them, somebody who thought they could take advantage of the system, got caught up, and once they got caught, they didn't even have the intestinal fortitude to be able to stand on his own and be accountable for what he did. So y'all take care. Everybody be safe, be blessed. Hey, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate that. Look at that. My God, I appreciate that. Yes, definitely. If you drop any type of coins in this thing, I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody who view, because I'm telling y'all right now, I'm not going to sell y'all anything to death. That's just kind of not my swag. I'm not going to do my course. I will tell y'all, I am going to drop some dope shirts, though. I don't know if y'all checked out this shirt, but this is one of my new creations. And at the end of the month, beginning of October, I'm actually going to launch the website. I've been talking about it for a while, but this is a shirt concept that came up with interest. Collect it, don't pay it. I thought it was simple. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was straight to the point. So y'all make sure y'all keep your head on the swivel. There's scammers out there. Your boy definitely don't want any of y'all to get caught up. As always, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Have a good one. Peace.